kiss and hug me. Come on strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say if you want to be more than friends.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Social Web Cafe interview. Today we have Patrick Schwerdtfeger. And
nice.
He's a key. Thank you. I did it. I was working on that. And he's a keynote speaker. And today he's going to be talking to us about different topics related to being a keynote speaker. So for those of you who are interested in following that path, this is the guy to listen to. So I'm going to start out by saying, welcome, Patrick.
Yeah.
Please.
Please say your last name. You know, my last name's a disaster. It's got 13 letters in it and only 3 vowels, so it's been a problem my whole life. But the interesting thing is, it was a liability my whole life until the internet came along. Now it's an asset, because if you can spell it, you find me, right? You don't find anybody else. So it's not like I have a regular, you know, I mean, Deborah Anderson, I mean, it's an awesome name, but let's face it, it's not uncommon, so.
Which can be nice if you want to be anonymous. Although when you're buying houses, you get the weirdest things that pop up in escrow. It's like, I'm not that person. I'm not that person.
Yeah, I'm sure. That never happens to me, Deb. It does not happen.
That's good.
Anyway, I'm happy to be with you. Thanks for inviting me to join.
Sure thing. I love the green screen. You did a really nice job. Not to pick on any other person that I've ever talked to that has green screen, but you have done a professional job, because sometimes you see it where it's too close. And then when you try to do the green screen effect, you get that little halo green thing going around.
Yeah. Well, I do not. If you knew the room I was sitting in, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but it does what I do, which is, and I think we're going to be talking about that later on too, so we can get into that later.
Yes.
But I'm glad it works for you as well.
It does. And guys, you'll have to visit, we'll talk about it a little bit later, like Patrick said, but you'll have to visit his website, because he even gives like a tutorial on using green screen. So that's pretty cool. I was watching that this weekend. I was checking up on you.
Yeah, and do you know that picture of green screen equipment behind me is in fact a picture that I purchased and not my actual studio?
That is pretty good. That's pretty impressive. I think I heard you say that, or I surmised that, but I bet everybody thinks that's your studio.
Yeah, and it's not. But anyway, thank you so much for watching my videos. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. And Patrick, tell us, who is Patrick?
Who is Patrick? Gosh, I mean, you know, I can go back as far as you want. I grew up in Canada. I live in San Francisco, and ever since I was like, you know, 14 years old, I always felt like I had something to say, and not always good things. I mean, I just always had opinions, and it got me into trouble a lot of the time, but I always had something on my mind. I always wanted to contribute to the conversation one way or another. So when the internet came along, and keep in mind, I'm 42 years old, so I was born in 1971. I got my first cell phone when I was 27 years old. So I'm sure there's people watching who are younger than that who can't even imagine living without a cell phone, but I did not have a cell phone for 27 consecutive years. So, but when the internet came along, I mean, it was such an unbelievable opportunity to kind of put, you know, finally I had a way to express my opinion that I've had all these years, all these things I wanted to say, but never had a way to say them. And now all of a sudden I did. And it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's true in a way. But it's true. I mean, and you have an opportunity, you know, I mean, I'm a keynote speaker, right? In a way, I hate that title, but that's what I do. I earn all my income, or at least the vast majority of my income comes from speaking fees. And it's astonishing. Like, I think to myself, how in the world did I end up in this situation? But when the internet is there and people like you are putting content in the public domain, and I'm certainly trying to do the same thing, it's incredible what you can do, the exposure you can get for yourself, and the career you can build online. And that's what I've done. So it's fun.
Definitely. I'm picturing a young Patrick with like a box and, I don't know, you know, girls use the hairbrush and the curling iron. Did you have like a little setup when you're a kid and you're a keynote and you're...
Yeah, my parents were not in favor of my opinions.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was not given tools to make it easier for me to speak. I was given tools to make it easier for me to shut up.
Yeah, I can relate. Yeah. I think I had my TV taken away from me because I was a little too sassy, and they didn't want to hear my opinions either.
Yeah, after a while, they're like, we don't want to hear about this anymore. So.
Well, now they can. Now they can find you on the internet.
How can they find me? Gosh, my
Oh, no, I mean,
primary.
your parents can. Your parents
Oh,
can
now
listen
they
to your
can. Yeah,
opinion.
my parents they're not baby boomers. They're older than that. And my dad's passed on, but my mom, she's 77 now, and she's not really aware. She's got a lot of issues of her own, so she doesn't speak much, and she has no idea. And the truth is, most of my family, even my friends, they don't really know what I do because it's so self-indulgent. It's disgusting. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, the process of doing what I do, I mean, it's shameless self-promotion. I mean, I got to go out there and put myself out there. And I have these envelopes that have like a picture of me on the corner and stuff. I mean, it's embarrassing to show that stuff to my friends. But when I send it to bureaus, speakers bureaus, or people who hire speakers, I mean, that's what they need to see. And that's what I do. So
I love that
anyway.
you call it self-indulgence. That's great. That's a great label, and it's necessary in what you do.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that it is, and it's not designed to be that way. It's not, if it was by design, I wouldn't do it that way. But you have to. I mean, the people who hire you, they want you to be a bit of a rock star, right? Whether you are or not. And what you realize when you walk this path, and I suspect you've learned this yourself, is that there actually is no like transfer point where you go from being a regular person to being, someone different than that. It's all the same, but it's people's perceptions that are different.
Mm-hmm.
Is that after
Exactly.
a while they think, and they, you walk into a room. I'm going to a networking event this afternoon with 1,200 people are going to be there today. It's the beginning of Small Business Week here in San Francisco. So there's a big opening event that I'm going to, and I can't wait to go. And I go to these things, and people will, treat me a little bit differently, and they shouldn't, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the way it is. That's the world we live in.
It's kind of a dichotomy, but it's so true as far as you got to go with the perception if you want to keep getting work as a keynote speaker.
Yeah,
But
and
you're like, I'm a regular person.
Yeah, but we fuel it. I mean, you and I are guilty as charged.
Mm-hmm.
We fuel because we have to. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. But the message really is that everyone thinks that you need to like do some like incredible thing to become a keynote speaker, right? You need to land a plane on the Hudson River, right? Remember that guy, Captain Sully Sullenberger? You know what I mean? He's a speaker today because he landed a plane on the Hudson, right? Or you climb Mount Everest, or that guy who was hiking and got his arm stuck and ended up having to like cut his own arm off to get free. I mean, that guy is a speaker today. So people think that you have to do these incredible things to become a speaker. And here's the deal. If you do something incredible, you can become a keynote speaker. It's true, but you don't need to. You do not need to do that. It's a market like any other. There's supply, which is me. There's demand, which is conferences. They're looking for speakers, and if you give them the right content and you give them the information they need, then there is some percentage that they're going to select you. And that's, that's the best part, is you can build this career out of air.
That is beautiful. No, it's so true, though, as far as the image. When you said rock star, it reminded me of, and I'm not going to name drop. I really don't get into name drop. Even if I know people, I'm not going to do it. But I will just say that if I did say the rock star, I swear you'd know who it was, even in Canada, these people. But he wasn't all made up, just a regular guy, just hanging out. And it's like, people miss that even celebrities are regular people. And that's part of the reason why I won't give the name, is because I want him to be able to, retain the non-regular person aspect.
Yeah.
But they're definitely like heavy metal, hanging out, doing the thing. And his band is like, wow, you know what? Maybe we're going to switch to jazz, But just a little side note. But, these people are just ordinary, they put pants on the same. I don't know that they wear dresses, but they put pants on the same way everybody else does. They eat the same way, just normal people. But you got to maintain that image. And part of that is respecting that and not name dropping, because it would wreck the rock star image.
Yeah, that's true. But the bottom line is that it's easier than ever to do it. And that's I think that's what we're both doing in one way or another. And that's what we're going to talk about today as well. So it works out perfect.
So I'm curious about this next question. And I know we talked about it a little bit the other day, but you mentioned the differences between keynote speaker and other types of speakers and panelists. So I'd love to hear Patrick's take on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is there's a lot of different distinctions, but kind of one of the primary ones is you have, on one side you have keynote speakers, and on the other side you have platform speakers. So platform speakers, something's always for sale. They're always selling, so they have a program or a set of DVDs, or maybe they're consultants, maybe they're selling the services that their company offers. Okay, there's always something for sale. Whereas a keynote speech, there's nothing for sale. And in fact, if you try to sell something as a keynote speaker at a conference, they're never going to hire you back, right? They paid you a fee. You showed up, and you are not supposed to sell anything. So, and the destination of a platform speech is the sale, right? Whereas the destination of a keynote speech is the message. So it's a very different, when you're platform selling, I mean, it's easier to get started, and you can make money, earlier in the game over here, but you're never going to get any referrals because you were pitching. There was an offer at the end. So people in their mind, they don't think, oh, gee, I could, someone else needs to hear this message, or gosh, I should bring this person to this other group I'm a member of. It doesn't happen. So you can make money quicker, but you don't get any referrals. But over here, it's harder to get started. There's no question it's harder to get started. I mean, it was a huge struggle for me at the beginning. But after a while, if you're any good at it, you have a good message, then people will think, gosh, that's a great message. That's really important information. This other group I'm a member of, they need to hear this message. And so you start to get referrals, and after a while, that's what drives the business forward.
I was going to ask you if a person could be in both groups, but you pretty much answered that. It doesn't sound like it's ideal. I mean, maybe somebody could, technically speaking, be in both, but I picture the platform speaker could be, for example, a software company, and you might have person A that presents at one conference, and then maybe that person's unavailable, you got person B, but they're representing the same sale ultimately as far as advertising their software company.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, that's one example. And look, you can be a member of both. I mean, there's no question you can be a member of both. But I'm going to introduce a different. Think, instead of like a software company, think like Tony Robbins, right? Or think about like T. Harv Eker, or Susie Ormond, or Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, these are kind of classic keynote speaker personalities. And look, they make a ton of money. I mean, they make way more money than I make, right? I mean, there's no question about that. But it is and they are, I mean, they've been through hundreds of rounds of elimination. I mean, Tony Robbins, like, whether individually you like him or not, you, Deborah, or of this interview, bottom line is he is the best of the best of the best of the best. I mean, he has been doing this for 30 years. Yeah, like, I'm a big fan of NFL football, and people like have the nerve to criticize some of these NFL football players, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like, these guys have gone through hundreds of rounds of elimination to get to where they are. And we all need to acknowledge that these folks are very, very good at what they do. But so there's a lot of people in platform speaking that are obviously not as successful as Tony Robbins, and it can be a bit of a trap. Because you end up in a situation where you're constantly selling the next program. Everyone knows that you're selling programs. Like, it becomes part of your identity that you're selling these programs. And that's, for some people, it's a turnoff. And those people who it turns off, I would say, are generally in corporate circles. Like, they just don't like that kind of stuff as much. So, for me, I've chosen not to do that. It was a slower start. I lived on, roots and berries for a long time. But, after a while, it starts to pick up momentum. And I got to tell you, like, once, if you can secure the business, it's the best lifestyle available. Like, you just can't. I can't even imagine a better lifestyle. I mean, I get to travel to all these conferences. Are always in great locations, right? People always pick these. I just got confirmation 2 days ago that I'm going to Bangkok in July. Like, it's at the Shangri-La Hotel in Bangkok. Like, I mean, what's the downside? I mean, it's perfect. They're giving me 4 nights hotel. I fly to Bangkok. I'm doing 2 sessions, 60 minutes each, so there's 2 hours of work in there, and I get to explore Bangkok. I mean,
that's wonderful. I hear you on the
awesome.
Where's the downside?
I mean, some people
great.
don't like to travel that much, like, oh, I don't want to travel. But they picture travel in the traditional business travel format. And I used to do that. I used to be in sales. My territory used to be Denver West. So I used to go hit the road on Sunday night, fly somewhere, and then I'd do 4 sales calls on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, fly home Thursday night, and do a call report on Friday. That sucks, right?
I'm trying to picture the downside of travel. I'm trying to like step into your shoes for a minute and picture that as being a downside, but maybe I just love travel too much.
Yeah, doing sales calls in a rented car, trying to figure out your way around a city, it sucks. I mean, it's fun for the first 2 months because you get to eat a lot of sushi and stuff like that. But, once you actually get, you get into the rhythm of it, it's just tedious. You're never at home. But for me, my trips are short. I'm usually away if it's domestic here in the United States, it's usually like 2 days, sometimes not even. International, obviously, it's longer, but I mean, maybe I go on 4 or 5 international trips a year. Sounds good to me, man. I got no problem with that. So
you work hard, but you work smart because you've got maybe not as many engagements as far if you compare that to going to work 40 hours, whatever. But that's a big bang 4 or 5 times, and you have a hoot doing it.
Yeah, and the other thing is that some of these things pay pretty well. So you can do 1 or 2 events and have enough money for 3 months. That's right now. I'm at home for 7 weeks in a row. I don't have any gigs. I have some local little stuff that I'm doing just kind of for fun, but I'm not making any money doing it. Mm-hmm. But 7 weeks where I've got tons of time. So I'm working on writing. I got a couple of Kindle ebooks that I'm working on, and I'm working on some other online platforms and so on. So I have some projects that I'm working on. I've got a ton of freedom. I work out of my house. Like this green screen studio is in my 2nd bedroom in my condo. So, it's a great lifestyle. I love it. I would recommend anybody.
Excellent.
It is actually, but what I've tried to do, I just launched actually this year, 2013, in late February, I started a video blog. And that's why I have this green screen. It's because I'm doing these videos right here in my home, and I'm just creating video content on a regular basis. Because when you have that, like I have this one page on my website, and I'll give you the website. I'm sure we're going to get to it in a second, okay? But if you go there, you're going to see this huge list of videos. And people who potentially are thinking of hiring me, right? They get to my website, they go to that page, they're like, holy smokes, look at all this video stuff, and they start browsing around. And while they're doing that, their confidence in my ability to deliver a message is hopefully going up, and their familiarity is going up, their trust level is going up. So by the time they send me an email, the competition, they're still considering some other people, but I'm already, in many cases, in the short pile as opposed to the tall pile, because they've had a chance to watch 3 or 4 of my videos, and so they're already really familiar with my content and my approach and my delivery. And if they didn't like it, they wouldn't have sent me an email in the first place. So
how
anyway,
do they not like it? Because you have an awesome online portfolio.
Well, look, some people don't like it. In fact, I just I got to tell you, this is brand new. I mean, I just did a video just like a week ago on immigration. And my contention is that immigration is good for the U.S. economy. Okay. Well, boy, I put that up there, and the haters came out in full force. I mean, I've got people. You should read. Any one of you could go to YouTube and find this video. It's called "Why Immigration is Good for the American Economy," and "good" is in all capital letters. I'm sure you'll recognize, because my face is right in the middle of the thumbnail. But anyway, read the comments below. There are some, it's something like the comments are brutal. Like the haters, there's one guy that was like comparing immigration as genocide on white children. That's what he compared it to. Yeah, because he said that basically it's it's diluting the white race by allowing immigration in. He called it genocide in the comments. Genocide on white children is to allow immigration. I was like, holy smokes, are you kidding? Like, these are some serious haters that came in. So I'm going to actually steer clear of the political. There's some political. I've done a number of videos. I go to the Middle East. I'm trying to build that part of my business. They've got a lot of money over there, and I'm really fascinated with the cultural divide between Western nations and the Muslim world. So I've done some videos on that, and that's certainly political. But the local kind of immigration, Republican Democrat divide, I'm not going to touch it. It's just
Well, I think
too
each
dangerous.
speaker has to decide. I mean, there's shock jocks out there that are going to touch anything that draws traffic, and you have to decide where you are in that spectrum. I imagine as a speaker, how far are you going to go into the different gray areas?
This is way off topic, but if any one of you watching has like really bad hay fever, I virtually cured my hay fever. I can't even believe it. 3 years ago, by taking cod liver oil. I'm not even kidding.
Seriously?
Yeah, not a small amount though.
I thought that's used for colic or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's used for all kinds. I mean, it's basically omega-3 fatty acids, but this one, it's like Carlson Super 1000 cod liver oil on Amazon, and I take literally 4 of those capsules a day. So I take 2 at breakfast and 2 at lunch, and my allergies just vanished basically. It's unbelievable to me. So if you have allergies, give it a try.
Excellent. And do you have a video? Just do a video telling that.
I actually do have. Listen, I got videos. Yeah, you don't even want to know. I've got videos on, like my daily supplement regimen, which includes that cod liver oil. But yeah, I got like 500 videos on YouTube. So I have videos on tons of different stuff. So.
Okay, people are curious, and I know we're doing this at the end of the interview too, but why don't you take a moment, and I love your domain so that people, no offense to your last name, but people don't have to know how to spell it because they can find you an easier way, so go for it.
Yeah, we were going to say that earlier on, and I forgot to follow through. So my last name's a doozy, right? So and my website address is actually patrickschwerdtfeger.com. So no one's ever obviously going to get there if that's all they had to do that every time. So you can go to bookpatrick.com, and it'll forward to my website just because my name is complicated. So like on my business card, for example, it says bookpatrick.com, and that forwards.
That's also shorter as far as when you're looking at the layout of the business card. That's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's just easier. But and if you do go there, so the link to the video blog is right on the right-hand side. You'll see it right away. It's a little video icon if you wanted to check that out. But you're welcome to visit, obviously, if you like, and send me a message too if you want. So
excellent. Now, you have a really interesting approach to getting gigs, and I loved it when you shared the other day. So could you share that with our audience? I think it's very fascinating.
Yeah, I think we're talking about the international stuff, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is, there's no one, people look for a silver bullet, and I don't think there is a silver bullet. You have to just test different things and see what works and what doesn't. But something happened to me in 2007, and I mean, it was so crazy, like how these things work out. And believe me, it's changed my life. So anyway, 2007, I mean, that was actually a really difficult time for me. Like I've published 3 books, but the first one only came out in 2008. So this is before all of that. I mean, I was really, not making any money, and I was sitting at my desk, which by the way is right like here. I mean, if where I'm sitting, I mean, it's it was in this room, right? And I had a beer, and I was drinking a beer. It was a Thursday evening, and I was like, this is crazy. I got to do something to get my career going. Anyway, so I thought I should speak at a conference, and I'd never done that before. Okay, so I did a search, and one of the things I was really doing a lot with back then, and even now to some extent, is internet marketing. So just the term internet marketing, which people don't talk about marketing the way they used to. Now it's social media and online, whatever. But anyway, so I searched for Internet Marketing Conference on Google, just those 3 words. And it turns out there's actually a conference called the Internet Marketing Conference. So it came up first. And so I clicked on it, and it was a conference based in Stockholm, Sweden. So I was like, holy smokes, Sweden. But it was all in English, right? And on the side of the page, it had a tab, speakers. So I clicked on that, and then on that page, it had some, copy, and then it had another button that said "Submit a Proposal." So I clicked on that. Now I'm like, holy smokes! I was literally looking at this web page with a form in front of me, and I had a beer right beside me. I'm like, this is great. I mean, should I fill this out? I mean, I've never spoken. The beer definitely helped. I mean, I was like, this is, I'm not convinced that I should fill this out, but maybe I will. So, and I thought of a great title that day. having a good title and a good description is super important as a speaker, believe it or not. And I came up with a great title that day. It was called, the program I proposed was called Monetizing Trust, Leading Your Audience from Rapport to Revenue. And that's a juicy, sexy title right there.
That is. I agree.
Because I've had some really horrible titles over the years. I mean, more horrible than you can even imagine.
You got me curious,
anyway,
though. But God.
Well, I'll tell you actually. I mean, seriously. I mean, I can't even believe. It took me a year basically to figure out how awful it was. I was speaking at like Rotary clubs and like community organizations whose members are all older, and they're all trying to get younger members, but they don't know how. So I created this program. I should never admit stuff in the public domain, but anyway, I created this program called Touching a Younger Audience.
Oh, wow. Okay, that I can see where that.
Yeah, it was really bad.
I see your intent, but I can see where, yeah.
It was very bad. It was very bad. But anyway, yeah, took a year. Incredible. Anyway, so I sent this thing off. I didn't expect to hear back from this conference in Stockholm. I mean, it was more of a lark. I practically forgot that I had done. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I didn't get anything. But Monday morning, I woke up, and an email had come in at 2 o'clock in the morning, which is like the middle of the day in Sweden. And it said, "We're interested in your topic." And I was like, oh.
Where's the beer?
What do I do, right? And so we started emailing back and forth, and sure enough, I ended up going to Sweden like 2 months later. Now, here's the thing. When I got there, I found out that one of the main reasons they picked me, listen to this, one of the main reasons they picked me is because I'm an American from Silicon Valley, right? How crazy is that, right? There's 7 million people in the Bay Area. I'm just one of them, okay? So over here, it's not a big deal, okay? But over there, there's some beef there. They like the fact that they have an American from Silicon Valley at their conference. Okay,
well, you must know what you're talking about if you're from Silicon Valley.
Well, that's what they assume. Like I could say, I basically live down the street from the headquarters of Twitter, and people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." It's just like, we're talking about an address, right? So anyway, and then when I came home, I got more credibility at home because I spoke in Sweden. Right, so I got credibility in both directions, like for free. Like I didn't do anything to, because of what and that's when I realized listen to this, the hardest place to get paid to speak is in your own backyard. It's hard to get paid because there's nothing special about you right at home. And aside from that, a whole bunch of people, and they know you as just being you. Like you've always just been you, which is not necessarily that special in their eyes. Okay. But you go somewhere else, and now you can be, the rock star that they want you to be. And it's not about being manipulative or deceptive or creating an illusion. It's not about any of that. It's just about appreciating that you have value today, right? And maybe the value is not being appreciated or monetized the way it could. Okay, think about whatever your skill set is. Okay, think about last year. Okay, whatever, how much money you made last year, right? I'm not speaking to you, Deborah, but to the viewers. but I mean, you even, right? All of us, right? So think about how you did your taxes. How much money did you make last year? Take that number in your head and multiply it by 10. Okay, there are people in the world with the same skill set that you have who are making that higher amount, right? They have the same skills, no more, no less. They just leveraging their value better than you are, right? And this is true for me too. There's people making 10 times what I'm making. There's people making Deborah's making. I have no idea what Deborah's making, but even if she's making $2 million, there's people who are making 20 million with the same skill set. So it's all about just, so anyway, here's the deal. After the Sweden thing, I was like, that's my silver bullet. Okay, now I said at the beginning there's no silver bullets, and I'll stick by that. But the bottom line is it's been very effective to send marketing all over the world, like to the craziest, Kuala Lumpur and Moscow and Santiago, Chile, and Cape Town, South Africa, and anywhere you can, Singapore, and I mean anywhere you can imagine. And a couple years later, 3 years later, I sent out a package to 68 different contacts that I found on the internet in Persian Gulf countries. So Kuwait, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia, and Oman as well. Anyway, heard back from this guy in Dubai. He was interested in having me speak at his conference. I was like, this is unbelievable. So once again, same deal, right? Emails went back and forth. Sure enough, he ended up selecting me, and I went to Dubai in May 2012. I was there for 7 days. The conference was at the Ritz-Carlton. Right? I mean, again, like, what's the downside
No
there,
complaints.
right? No complaints. And by the way, if you're on my website, you can click a picture on a picture of me with the guy who hired me, and there's all kinds of photos from that event, so you can see what it looked like, the conference hall and everything.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? It's awesome, right? And now, like, and I tell people that I've spoken. Now I've been back to Dubai a second time, and I'm going to be going back again in December. So I've been there a couple of times, and I tell people I've spoken in Dubai, and people are like, "You've spoken in Dubai? Like, what are you, Michael Jackson?" Like, they don't, because he lived there, right? But I mean, they're blown away that that's possible, and they're right. It is crazy. It's possible, but it is possible. And
You're proof that it's possible.
Darn right. I mean, I never had that massive, undeniable victory like landing a plane in the Hudson River. I don't have any of those victories in my past, but the fact that I'm doing what I'm doing and it's working is becoming the victory that I never had in the first place. So that's the amazing thing, is the road to being is through doing. Like, you can become what you want to become just by doing the stuff that those people do repeatedly over time. Eventually it's gonna happen. And when it happens, the fact that it happened becomes the justification for where you end up.
Beautiful. Very quotable. And there you see it. I'm mesmerized. I'm like, okay, I think I gotta like rewind that in my head. That's beautiful. But when you mentioned victory, not to be confused with success, because Patrick has success, and the victory is like that 15 minutes of fame that might propel somebody that otherwise would not have hit the same level of success. But you can still reach that success in other ways, like you've proven.
Yeah, well, that's in a way, that's kind of what I mean. Like, the victory is the illusion. I mean, yes, Captain Sully Sullenberger did land a plane on the Hudson, right? So for him, it's not an illusion, it's actually true, right? There's people out there who save children from burning buildings, right? For them, it's true. There's people who climbed Mount Everest. For them, it's true. Or the dude who cut off his arm to save himself on a hiking trip. For him, it's true. Okay, but those are the minority. Like, they're the crazy minority. The vast majority of people who are successful, the victory that justifies their success is the accumulation of 10,000 tiny victories and 100,000 tiny failures. That's what it actually is. It's the accumulation. It's like, picture a brick building that's like 5 stories tall, brick building, right? That building was built one brick at a time, right? And once you walk down the street, you see 3 bricks on the side of the road. What is that? It's garbage. It's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. What's 100 bricks? It's a half-built wall. It doesn't mean anything. But if you keep stacking them, and it slowly but surely it gets higher and higher. After a while, now you've got a building. Now you've got something. Like, imagine, okay, 2 scenarios. Number one, you go to Google, you search for a keyword phrase, okay? You see the list of results that comes up. One of them appears to have the answer that you're looking for. You click on it. It's a blog. Sure enough, it has the answer that you're looking for, but this blog has 3 posts, okay? Now, same scenario. Keyword phrase, go to Google, search for it, listing, see one that you think has the answer that you're looking for. You click on it. You end up on a blog. Indeed, it has the answer you're looking for. So far, everything's the same, okay? But this one has 300 posts, right?
I'm going for that one.
Links to YouTube and links to social media and videos and podcasts and all this stuff, right? People study this kind of stuff. How are those 2 scenarios different, okay? When someone goes here, they get the answer they're looking for, but their subconscious mind doesn't register anything beyond that, and they click back and they're gone. They don't even remember the name of the blog. Okay, people who go to this blog, they get the answer they're looking for, but their subconscious mind says, oh my gosh, I have found a resource.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I have found a resource. How did I not existed before? So they look for different ways. Gosh, maybe I should subscribe on YouTube. Is there a place where I can subscribe by email? Do they have a newsletter? And you consciously realize, so they're totally different experiences for the visitor of the website. Now, the important thing to realize is that every one of these websites started out as these websites. You can't get here without going through here first, right? You have to do 2 blogs, then 3, then 4, then 5, and you build on it. And it doesn't have to be blogs. It can be videos like what I'm doing or what Deborah's doing with these interviews, right? It's brilliant what she's doing. And when she's just done 1 or 2, it's nothing. No one's going to notice. It doesn't mean anything to the viewer. But when she's done 20, 30, 40, 50, people see it. They're like, man, holy smokes, she's a resource, right? And so they find ways to engage with her. That's why she's been successful. At least that's what I believe. So you got to go. Well, I mean, that's the game we're playing, and you have to overwhelm your visitor with content. And when you do that, people who get to your site for the first time, they've never been to your site before, they stumble across your site, and you out of maybe 100 people who go to this website, not even 1 will engage, right? They'll just click the back button, they're gone. Over here, out of 100, maybe 10, 20, even 30. It depends on the topic and, whatever, the quality of the content. But a way, way, way higher percentage of first-time visitors will engage. So that's when that exponential effect, the tipping point, right? Malcolm Gladwell. The tipping point, it happens when you've got so much content that first-time visitors are like, wow, I have found a resource. It's your responsibility to become a resource for your viewers. And if you do, you'll be shocked at how your career changes and how fast it'll change too.
Well, and that's great advice, whether you're a speaker or any kind of content provider. And that's a key point that you've made there, is that's a great path, great strategy.
It's fun, right? I mean, this stuff is fun. And the thing is, when you feel pretty lonely when you're going through that, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phase. It's because nothing's happening. There's this guy, Jeff Rose. He's a financial planner. And he started blogging, and that's a pain in the neck in the financial industry, because you have to get every blog post approved by compliance. So he had to write a blog post, submit it to compliance. They would have it for 3 days. Maybe some changes, bring it back, and then he could post it for every blog post. Imagine, right? Serious pain in the neck.
Wow.
So
wow.
He started doing this, and he got nothing. 8 months went by. He didn't get a single client. Right? He got his first client in the 8th month of doing this. Okay. He got his second client in the 11th month. That's a full year of living on roots and berries.
That's
Yeah, the guy was like the laughing stock of his office, okay? 3 years later, he was one of their top producers. That's how it works. That's how it works. He's the perfect example. You slug through those early days, just keep doing it. Keep stacking those bricks one on top of the other. Keep doing it, and just trust that eventually you're going to hit that critical mass. And when you do, the whole thing then it does. Everyone wants an overnight success story. They do happen, but they happen after people say that a success story takes 15 years to create, or an overnight success story takes 15 years or whatever. I mean, I think that's an exaggeration, but you blog for 3 years in a row consistency is the only obstacle that's left. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be white or black or Asian or go to some school. I mean, so those things help, but they're not required. The only thing that's required is consistency, right? You go to the gym in January, the place is packed. Right? You go back in March, everybody's gone. Right? That's the problem, is people give up. If you keep doing it and keep stacking those bricks, after a while you turn the corner, and then all of a sudden all this stuff happens all at once. And you're like, man, it's crazy.
It paid off, that consistency. And that's so true. I've seen so many really talented people have great content out there, and they just seem to give up too soon. Just get a little bit more time.
Yeah, the only reason people finish marathons is because they know how long they have to run to finish it. Like in life, like you don't know where the finish line is. You don't know how much it's going to take, right? It's different for every topic. It's different for every voice, right? Every person's voice is different. So you don't know how far you have to go. So after a while, people get discouraged and they give up. Sometimes, I mean, that was the day they gave up was the closest they ever were to succeeding, right? No one knows exactly how close they were, right? Because they didn't get to that finish line yet. But that was the closest they got, and then they gave up. It's sad. And
so many truths. I'm hearing this going, okay, I totally get why Patrick's the keynote speaker, because there's so many things that you say that are that actually apply to people even in just normal day-to-day life and not just business. So I can definitely see why people bring you in, Patrick.
Thank you, Deborah. It's what I do.
Yes. Now, you are also an author. And I'm curious about the books, but also as a path to become a speaker, is it something where it's a prerequisite, or is it a companion, or does it depend on what your strategy is?
Another great question. So is it a prerequisite? No, it is not a prerequisite, but it helps, right? And I don't know how far I would have gotten if I didn't write books, because I did. Right. This is always the interesting thing, right? So I can't say how fast it would have happened if I didn't write any books, because I chose to write books. And I'll be honest, the first one I ever wrote, I mean, I wrote it specifically to try and get noticed by speakers bureaus, right? In the speaking business, there's the free circuit, the cheap circuit, and the pro circuit, okay? So the free circuit is free. Cheap is like $1,000 to $3,000 for a speech, usually like a $2,500 speech. That's free circuit. Usually book that directly. Pro circuit is $5,000 and up. And a lot of that business goes through speakers bureaus and speakers agents. And I wanted to get noticed by speakers, bureaus, and agents, so I wrote a book, and it was my first book in 2008, and I'm not even very proud of it. I mean, I just did it just to get something out there, and it helped, but these days it is not necessary, and there's a lot of people out there who are doing exactly what we talked about a second ago, just putting overwhelming amounts of content. Like, look at, what's his name? Chris Brogan, right? I mean, that guy's like a legend today. But how did he become a legend? He became a legend on social media, and he did write a book, Trust Agents, but that came out way later. He was already a rock star before he did that. The only reason he did that was because publishers were approaching him saying, look, dude, you got a huge audience. We'll give you a nice fat advance if you build your book, if you write a book, and it's going to build your credibility at the same time. So he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
That makes sense.
But at the end of the day, he got to rock star status before he ever did that. So no, you do not write a book, but you have to do something. You can't do nothing and expect it to work. Like, you better
you can't expect your essence to just sort of permeate the globe.
Exactly, like law of attraction. I mean, look, I believe in elements of the law of attraction. I do. But you know what it boils down to? Check this out. So your mind can in any given situation can make about 10 million observations in a given environment. Okay, everything, like, the room I'm sitting in, the chair I'm in, the temperature of the room, a piece of lint on the floor, anything, pictures on my wall. I have noticed everything, and Deborah has in her studio, and you watching. You have too, like you're looking at a video on your computer screen, you've noticed everything around you, maybe there's a cat nearby, you've noticed all that stuff. Your conscious mind can only keep track of about 40. Okay, so like 99.9996%, okay, of the observations you make, you're never even aware that you made them. So there's all this stuff going on in your subconscious mind. Yeah, you don't even know what's happening up there. So when I first moved to LA from Canada, I live in the Bay Area today, but I moved to LA first, and I bought a green Volkswagen Jetta. And what happens? I notice Jettas everywhere I look, right? I mean, I'm sure this has happened to you. So, and I was in sales, like I told you. So I was on those massive Los Angeles freeways all the time. I probably saw 10,000 cars a day, just, passing on the freeway, right?
I've lived on the 405. I've changed on the 405. I mean, you're there so many hours.
Yeah, you could absolutely. I mean, you can watch your hair grow on the 405. But what do you notice? Well, in that case, I noticed Jettas because that's what was in my subconscious mind, right? And so all of a sudden I noticed it all around me. Well, that's the law of attraction. If I'm in my mind, if I'm focused on success and becoming successful, do the actions that will lead to success in my life, what's going to happen? My subconscious mind, through all those observations, is going to find the ones that are relevant for what I'm thinking about in my mind. Okay, so it's all a question of what you focus on. But now here's the kicker. Okay, in one scenario, I sit at home and I don't do anything. Okay, all day. Well, I've been in one environment, so I made 10 million observations that day. Okay, and maybe a couple of them were relevant. Okay, the other scenario is I go out, I go to networking events, I go this, that, I'm meeting people, I'm doing this and that, I'm trying to do whatever I can. So I'm in different environments. Let's say I'm in 20 different environments in a given day, right? Super busy day, running all over the place. I'm in 20 different places. 20 times 10 million is 200 million. So in one case, I got 10 million observations that my subconscious mind has made. Okay. In the other, I got 200 million observations that my subconscious mind has made, right? And if I'm focused on success and how I'm going to success, the actions that will lead to success, I'm going to find way more things that'll help me in the 200 million than in the 10 million. Mm-hmm. Right? So you got to go out and do stuff. You got to create content. You got to put yourself in the line of fire. You got to put yourself in a position to win. And the only way to do that is by being out there and shaking hands and creating content and just do. Never stop doing. The more you do, the faster this whole thing will happen. Like luck and hard work are correlated. Right? The harder you work, the luckier you're going to be.
That makes sense. And your illustration, as far as everything that you said, all these different tips. I was going to ask you, okay, what are your tips? But this whole video and future podcast is full of tips. So anyone listening, you've got to rewind. I know that's an old term, but you've got to hit it back and play this.
I love that you just said that, actually.
Play this again, because take out the notepad, take out the laptop, take out the note, whatever. Take notes on this one, because Patrick's giving a lot of really helpful advice for life and for business. But I keep seeing those bricks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now, is that the first one, or you've written?
No, this is the third. Marketing Shortcuts for the Self-Employed. This is done really well. So if anyone's interested, you can get that. But I got some other ones that I'm working on. They're going to be Kindle ebooks. They're going to be much shorter, 10, 12,000 words, whereas this one here is like 63,000 words. So it's a longer.
That's a
book.
lengthy book.
Yeah, it's about 280 pages, I think, but. Anyway, the new one's called Cultivating Greatness, which is all about the science of success. So all this stuff we've been talking about, I'm going to put it together. It's actually one of my keynotes. It's one of my programs, and I'm going to just package it into a book and sell it as a Kindle ebook. And the other one is called Understand My Crazy. I can't wait
really
to
understand the crazy.
Yeah, it's all about introspection. I think way too much. Like my brain never stops thinking, and it helps me in some ways. It hurts me in other ways. But if you,
I think Patrick retains more than the 40 out of the 10 million. I think you're retaining more conscious thoughts. Here's the thing, right? The average person is another fascinating angle. They're all related, okay? The average person has 40,000 thoughts a day, conscious thoughts, okay? The problem is that 95% of them are exactly the same as the thoughts you had yesterday, the day before that, the day before. So people get into these repetitive thought patterns, right? It's habitual. Your thinking patterns are habitual, right? So think about in your life, someone who just complains all the time. That's their habitual thinking pattern, right? They get used to it. People with road rage are addicted to being angry. It's not that they enjoy being angry, but it's the most familiar response for them mentally is to get upset at stuff. They're looking for stuff to get upset because that's where they feel comfortable. They feel comfortable being upset. That's what they always are. They're always upset, right? And there's people who are always complaining. And at the same time, there's people who are, I was dating this girl recently, and she's brilliant. That girl is incredible, and it didn't work out between it. That's fine, but she was the most positive,
I couldn't believe how positive and happy she was all the time. I mean, to the point
She's
where
addicted to being positive and happy.
that's her habitual thinking pattern. And it actually got to a point where it was difficult for me to relate to her, because I'm happy, I'm positive too, but to balance. I mean, I struggle with stuff. I get anxious about things sometimes. I get stressed out. My mind just never stops, right? So those are things that I deal with, right? That's kind of what the daily life of Patrick. But for her, she was just like resoundingly positive all the time. And I was like, man, this is her habitual repetitive thinking pattern. And that's what affirmations are all about. I have a little app on my phone. And it has a little chime, just ding, 6 times a day. And that chime reminds me to think about my bigger goals, right? Like, my big thing is think bigger. I'm always, and it's just ching, that's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. And I might think about it for 4 seconds and then move on with my day. But 6 times every day, my phone goes ching, and I just puts a smile on my face, and I think about like what I want to be doing, right? For 4 or 5 seconds, and then I just move on with my day. It's a little pill reminder. It's for people who take pills, right? That is the app.
It really is a pill reminder app?
Yeah, it's a easy daily pill reminder or something. It's free, obviously.
There you go, guys. Download it. That's great.
This stuff works. I mean, it goes off at 9, 11, 1, 3, 5, and 8 every day. So every day I get these little chimes, and it just, because I'm trying to train myself, I'm trying to adjust my habitual thinking patterns, because I am someone who's had a lot of like self-doubt. I've had, there's a lot of judgment in my earlier life, and I've retained a lot of that. So I'm constantly judging myself negatively and using harsh language as the way I evaluate myself. And it makes me work harder, which is good, but it also, it chips away at my self-esteem if I'm not careful, right? So I've been doing this now for a while, and it makes a difference, guys. This is simple stuff, but you can train your subconscious mind to think differently. And when you do, there's a domino effect that takes place. It affects the rest of your life. It even affects other people around you. Like when people, here's what happens. If you're excited, your eyes are more wide open, okay? Your skin is more flush. You speak at a higher pitch, and you speak at a louder pitch, and your gestures are more animated, okay? So people, like, when you're excited, you don't even know you're doing it. It's involuntary. But everyone around you, either consciously or subconsciously, knows that you're in a good mood. They might not even consciously know it, but even babies that are like 4 or 5 days old react differently to a smiling face and a frowning face. We came equipped with this. Like, this is a natural instinct. So when you're in a good mood, subconsciously, everyone around you knows that you're in a good mood. And guess what? People like being around people who are in a good mood.
They're drawn to that. That makes a lot of sense. As far as I've had people, you're on stage and you're just doing your thing, and you're done, and people say, that was contagious. It wasn't even necessarily about the content. They just wanted to feel that same energy and be happy and catch that. It was contagious. And I love that word. If I can go on stage and be contagious.
Yeah, so they call it the law of state. They call it the law of state transfer. They call the law of state transfer. Your audience to be excited, you got to get excited first. If you're talking to someone one-on-one, if you want them to be happy, you got to be happy first, and your state will transfer. It's involuntary. It happens subconsciously. If you're happy, people around you will, get happy unless they resist it. Like, some people will be like, they'll be like, no, I am not going to be happy, and they will like repel you. Okay.
I'm sorry, it's not funny, but I'm like.
It's true, but it is true, right? This kind of stuff happens, but most people, if you're in a good mood, it will transfer to the people. Or think about the person in your office or the person in your life who's always happy. They just have great energy. Everyone else around, it's fun to hang out with those people because they're just have great energy. So anyway, we go on and on.
I know. I'm thinking, this might be actually 2. There's so much content here. I don't know if people can fit it. I shouldn't say
just
that.
Leave it as
one. It'll fit in their brains.
Leave it as one.
That said, okay, I know you mentioned 3 books, and I know people want to go out and buy them right now, and they want to know more about Patrick. So how do we find you?
go to bookpatrick.com. I mean, that's the easiest way. And then you can see whatever, if this helps you guys, I'm thrilled. But the truth is that all this stuff I talk about is the stuff I've used myself to try and succeed and do what I wanted to do, right? I've never been very good with supervision. So, a good W-2 employee candidate. So I knew I had to do it on my own one way or another. And this is the kind of stuff that's helped me. So if it helps you, awesome.
And you mentioned the 2 sites and the resource sites. Guys, I've been to Patrick's site. It is one of those sites that would be classified as a resource site. So you definitely want to visit bookpatrick.com and check out all the wonderful content and the essence of Patrick.
The essence of Patrick and the essence of Deborah. Deborah, I really appreciate being invited to be part of this. It's fun, and I appreciate you having me on. So.
Don't you wanna kiss and hug me? Come on strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say, if you wanna be more than friends, got some love I'd like to make. Baby, you can squeeze me, I won't break. We could be in a paradise, you and me. Until then, I'll remind you again. Just say when. Oh yeah, until then, I'll remind you again. Just say when. Oh baby, just say when.